Billy the Kid Lawrence, did you really reverse your plaque? Now, that is a great question, Billy the Kid. Let me go down that path for a few minutes. There are people that have reversed plaques. I'm not the only person that's done it, and I'm not the only person that talks about it. It is real. And I've got some pretty good credentials. I used to teach this stuff at Johns Hopkins. Harvard has actually mentioned this. They had an article on it in Harvard Men's Health, and they said some of us know, many of us don't, because you get comments this channel. Oh, I've got the best cardiologist in all of LA, and he says you cannot reverse plaque. Either A, your cardiologist doesn't know this, which is really common. A lot of cardiologists don't, or B, there was some technical confusion. I'll deal with the technical confusion in just a minute, but first let me quote that Harvard article about reversing cardiovascular plaque. He said, yes, we've seen it. It happens. It's not impossible. The places we've seen it are people that have lost weight, major weight, like 30 pounds or more. And guess what? I've seen more people on this channel that have lost 30 pounds or more than in any other setting that I've worked in. And again, like I said, I'm 65 years old. I've finished my medical degree at age 21. So I've been in a lot of different medical settings. A lot of people that watch this channel have lost 30 pounds and more. And so that's one of the areas where you tend to see a potential for actually decreasing cardiovascular plaque. Now, the second place where you tend to see cardiovascular plaque, I always remained thin. So that wasn't what happened with me. In fact, I hated to admit it, and it comes up to this discussion about drugs. In that Harvard article, they said the second place where you tend to see reversal of plaque, it's where someone that had never taken a statin actually starts taking a statin. So, I got beat up. Ken Berry is very, very popular. He's in rural Tennessee. He's got a lot of that good old boy to him. And I've read his book, and he does a lot of good for a lot of people. He commented on that video saying, well, Doc, you relied on a drug. I didn't rely on a drug. I've stayed thin almost all of my life, with a couple of exceptions. The heaviest I've ever gotten was 180 pounds. And again, we'll talk about that in other scenarios. Let's get back to that article. They said the places where you tend to see reversal of plaque, loss of major weight, and they were talking about prisoners of war, but again, I see it a lot with this channel population. People that have gotten too heavy and focused, dropped their carbs, started some intermittent fasting, and lost 30 pounds or more. One of them lost 150 pounds. He's come on many times and shared that with the audience. So that kind of weight loss. And as I said in the video about my own experience, I didn't have 30 pounds to lose. I lost maybe 10, but for the first time ever, I'm a statin hater, and I knew I had plaque, and I started statins. Now, that gets to the technical issue. Couple of technical points. Number one, do I recommend statins? Not nearly as much as most docs. I don't recommend them usually just based on LDL. I want to look at other major, more important drivers of health. I do, however, recommend statins low dose, as in like Crestor 5 milligrams or less, or Livalo. Those are the only two that I recommend these days. And again, both of those are very low doses, very kinder, gentler statins. They're not the 20 milligrams, 40 milligrams that you tend to see docs prescribing for an LDL of 110. Now, let's go a little bit deeper in terms of the science there. So what's happening also with the weight loss, but what's happening for the person that seems to be losing or decreasing plaque just from taking statins? That's, again, somebody like me. First of all, it's unusual. But second, here's what's happening. When you look at a plaque is more than just small, dense, oxidized LDL particles that have gotten trapped in the artery wall. First of all, it's in the artery wall. It's not inside the lumen of the artery. The second thing is this issue of inflammation. So if you have that process going on and it's remaining active, you have plasmacytes, macrocytes, polymorphonucleocytes. I'm giving you a bunch of technical names you don't need to remember, but your immune system knows that plaque is not supposed to be there. It knows that small, dense LDL, oxidized LDL particles not supposed to be in that artery wall. And so it goes in, it discovers that, and it does what it always does when it discovers something that's not supposed to be there. It releases enzymes. Those enzymes then start digesting or trying to digest the plaque. Well, when that happens, those enzymes also pull in more macrocytes, more polymorphs, more immune cells. Those immune cells get triggered. They release more enzymes. And all of this also creates liquid. That's what inflammation is. That's what inflamed plaque is. So I'm going to take a digression off of that digression, Billy the Kid. In fact, that's why I only usually recommend small levels of statins when I do recommend them. And I do recommend them when you have plaque, because you have to have gotten inflamed, cardiovascular inflammation, in order to get any plaque at all. And guess what? If you look at things like stress tests, the most common go-to for the medical community to see if you, quote, have risk for heart attack, it doesn't tell you whether if you have risk for heart attack. In fact, over a third of the people that have heart attacks have plaque that just would not impact the flow of the artery. Most people don't know that. How does that heart attack actually happen? It gets back to that inflammation that we talked about. Those inflammatory cells, if they create this in this liquid, they can actually float back into the bloodstream. If that touches the liquid blood, it causes a clot. And that's the process that causes heart attack or stroke. If the clot's big enough and it goes to the heart, it's a heart attack. If the clot's big enough and it goes to the brain, it's a stroke. If it's microscopic and it goes to one of these areas, it can still just take microscopic bites out of your heart tissue, your brain. These are major causes of heart failure and dementia, as we said. So, Billy the Kid, yes, I did, quote, reverse my plaque. Now, how did we know that? We did a thing called CIMT, and we looked at it every month. I do those routinely. I was doing a lot of those during that time period, and we saw a very smooth curve as I added my statins, dropped carbs further, dropped about 10 pounds. And what happened was my plaque was doing this, shrinking. Here's the reality. I was probably not taking small, dense LDL particles out of that plaque. What I was doing was taking inflammation out of that plaque. And that inflammation, when you take inflammation out of cardiovascular plaque, it will shrink.